Good morning. Welcome to the future I want. What kind of future do you want? We all imagine a future that somebody else wants. We see it in the present. Some have a better relationship with time. Some have a better relationship with money. Some have a better relationship with just the imagination of what life can be. Yet others have something else. When we look at life, look at somebody, is it always the case that what we imagine or what we see is the reality? This problem of the relationship between men and reality is not a new one. It is not something that we actually know. I have a question from Norbert Chawira. Are you still a businessman? That question itself exposes something. It says that one is not human first, is a businessman. Am I still alive? The answer, Norbert, is that I am alive. Business is just a stage of life. It's about it's really business. It's nothing more than service to other people. We all serve in different ways. I think you would agree that service to humanity is not linked to being a businessman, artist, doctor, lawyer. Where do we get proper literacy about life? Good afternoon, Mukoma Masimba.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mawere, and good afternoon, listeners.
How is Australia?
Or good morning, I would say. Australia is very beautiful. The sun is out. Beautiful weather today. People are enjoying, and everything is well.
Thank you. We have this topic on this show. The topic is simply the future I want.
Yes.
Talk to the world. Don't talk to Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Talk to the world about the power of fake news. Because we talk about fake news without understanding what it is.
Yes. So basically, last night, Saturday evening, I met up with the police officers. They were doing their patrols. And I was just doing what I was doing. Then I said to the officer, I have a campaign awareness that I'm doing. So my campaign awareness, I'm simply trying to push and show people that we should not just rush based on what we hear. We should just go deeper a little bit. And then we look for the facts, and then we comment. So the police officer said, no problem, young man, do whatever you want to do. So I asked them to flash their lights for the car, because it was evening, to show that I was with the police officers. Then I was acting, and I said, good people, I have been arrested. And for most people who have been following my videos, at the moment I've been doing a campaign awareness against Star FM, bringing fake adverts to the radio, misleading people. So I said, because of that, I've been arrested. Just because people were waiting to hear that, they all started to share the videos, commenting, and Mr. Moira, I would say to you, yeah, I've seen what people really think or what they do. They just rush without any facts. It will remind me the story of SMM saga again.
Yeah, if you look at human beings, human life, do you agree that what we see may not always be the truth?
Yes, I agree.
Do you also agree that sometimes we want to imagine the truth?
I agree.
And if anything comes that is closer to what we imagine, we quickly embrace it and call it fact and share it.
Yes. Yet
And
it is not a fact.
And the speed with which this imagined reality spreads,
Yep.
it's so shocking that people really have time to talk about Masimba being arrested, sending the videos. It becomes viral.
Yes.
And imagine you just pretended to be dead for one day.
Oh.
Then you wake up the day after.
Yes.
How many messages would you receive? Would you expect to receive?
I can't even. Thousands.
Those you call your friends, you actually discover they are your enemies.
That's very true. That's what I've discovered. I've been reading most of the comments and I was like, wow, I thought this is my friend. Then this person has got my number. The same person, they've got access to my inbox. Why don't you call me and get the facts from me? No, just because you're waiting to hear something. So basically, my conclusion, Mr. Mawere, I think I've discovered that instead of hearing people, they feel, they don't listen or they don't want to hear. They want to feel or they want to do exactly what they wanted to hear. They want to try to change the facts, and it's impossible. You can't fight facts. So if you thought for sure I was arrested, here I am. I'm talking right now. So that shows it's only you who wanted to hear that. And you are the same person who went on to spread the news. You are the same person who was just commenting negative. Waona moto, wainyanya, such things. I was like, wow, wow.
So that's it. That's what life is all about. So if we look at the future you want to see, just imagine life. Just imagine you were the creator of life.
Yes.
And you're the task of designing it, not living it, just being the architect of life. Would you remove gossip in it?
I cannot. I can't do that. You know what I'll do? I will simply. This is a simple thing, Mr. Mawere. I also have learned a lot from what I did yesterday. I've got the eyes to read. I've got the ears to hear. I have the mouth to talk. So I've learned just to think a little bit. If I hear something, even if it is coming from the Herald, the newspaper, yes, they write a story. The person wrote a story, just a person as well. They might be pushing their own political agendas or their own intentions. I have to read it and look for the facts before I comment or conclude. Otherwise,
No, I've asked the question that imagine a life without gossip. What kind of life would it be?
Mr. Mawere, with what I have seen so far, I don't think.
No, I'm just
trying to imagine it.
No, yep, I'm just you're talking to the, you are talking to the world. I'm not. Yeah, imagine life without gossip. Would it be desirable, beneficial, uplifting?
It would be exactly desirable, benefiting, uplifting, and will be fulfilling the purpose of life.
No, there could be another alternative view. That life itself was designed to actually perfect the art of gossiping. It's actually without these stories, what is life like?
Nothing.
Without talking about other people, what would be life like? Without ridiculing others, what would be life like? Without thinking ill of others, what would life be like? You think it would be fun?
Going to get in there and remove your fucking car.
Yep.
No, Daryl's going to park that bus that he's
just a second.
In there.
Okay, so yeah, I'll move it.
Yeah,
anytime. No, what? Thank you. Yep, go ahead, Mr. Mawere. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, imagine a world where people stop gossiping. Huh?
Yeah.
Or
It will be a
where
world.
dogs, where dogs, where dogs stop barking.
Yeah. So, now I have a question now to the world. If you are listening, my simple question to you is imagine a world where people stop gossiping, where dogs will stop barking. What kind of a world is that? So you can easily type in, and you can chip in as well if you are listening. And I'm also trying to imagine that world. What kind of a world is it?
Let me just welcome the people who are here. Bright Masimba, morning say, blessed Sunday to you as well. Patla Maposa is watching. Govere Nyasha says, good Magona. Govere Nyasha. Simba agone kunyarara. Govere Nyasha. Anotaura zvisinei naye. Tekla Bamsi is watching. Rochelle Morgan. Hello, morning, Rochelle. Fafi Gwindi. Gossiping only bothers those who dedicate their energy to acknowledging them. Tekla Bamsi. Morning. Because Mildred. Morning, Mr. Mawere. Morning. Marian Chuawa, watching from Denmark. Brian Musekiwa is also with us. Chiera is also with us. Morning, Chi. Then we also have Martha Chimasola, Varaidzo, Kunze Bosha, Samuel Maramba. So this is what we have today. So, yeah. And we have Catherine Chawarika, morning. Achuoro Precious Matika, pay. So the world without gossiping would be the fact world. It would be a desirable one. And the pardon, that's pardon Madanzi. Tekla Bamsi says, how are you, Mukoma Masimba?
Good things, and how are you, Tekla?
And then Abigail Murimi, morning, Mr. Mawere, watching you from Kuwait. Morning, Abigail. Munya D. Mutuma, I can only respond and say Munya. Rawlings, Manchester. Good morning, listening from Canada. So this is what we have, Mukoma Masimba. That the world is shaped by what we imagine it to be. Let me ask you a simple question. What is death to you?
What is death?
Death.
Oh, death. Death to me is the end of a purpose. Everyone was born for a purpose. That's what I believe in. So death to me, that's the end of the story. Yeah, that's the end of the story. Yeah.
And what is the relationship between man and the reality of death? Is death real?
Yes, death is real. There's only one thing which is certain, which I give everyone a guarantee. We're all gonna die. If you are listening, I say to you, there's only one thing which is certain, is death. You're gonna die.
If I told you that death does not exist, it's fake, what would you say?
Well, I would say to you, please explain. What do you mean if it's fake? Yet it's real, it's there. And you're gonna die as well.
So
that's important.
Is it okay? Is it correct that as we are speaking, someone has just died now? Not just someone.
And someone. Yep.
And if someone dies that you don't know, how does it become death to you?
It's death because it happened. Just because I don't know about
it. No, it happened, but you don't know anything about it. What is the reality of death?
The reality of death is something I'm aware of.
which has happened.
So if you're not aware of something or personal experience, I can tell you someone has died because I think he has died.
Yep. Okay.
And from then
your question,
on, yeah?
Your question is like, my answer is simple. Death is real. It happens to people that I know, to some people that I don't even know. As I'm speaking to you now, it's happening already. Just because I don't know about that person, it doesn't stop them from dying or from happening.
So reality is something else. Because to me, reality may not be fact.
It's not
the
about
reality
you.
of death need not be.
Yep.
Because if somebody tells me someone has died, I have no other obligation than to accept it.
Yep.
Who am I? If you told me Masimba is dead, I'll act upon the information that has come before me. And I don't suffer the obligation to test it. I have no obligation whatsoever to test it. I will spread it as I know. Huh?
Yes. Yep.
If I see you going around with someone's wife, every day you are together.
Yes.
And you seem to be liking each other.
Yes.
I can also create the reality of an affair.
Yes.
But is that reality?
No, it's not reality. It's a creation.
How many relationships have been changed because of imagined realities?
A lot. A lot.
So if we know that, right now there is another gossip, I think you have heard it, in relation to Zimbabwe, that President Mugabe wants to put his wife as president or as his deputy, and then he chased Mnangagwa to allow the first lady to be president. Yeah? Have you heard that gossip? What is the reality of that? Because all of us don't talk to Mugabe. Yet, we believe that his actions and his thoughts are solely shaped by his wife. And how many husbands and wives would dispute that? That if I see the husband, I have seen the wife. And if I know what the husband thinks, then I know what the wife thinks. How many of us operate on that basis?
Many.
Only to be shocked when you meet the two of them. And sometimes you think the husband has told the wife what you told him. And you are invited for dinner, only to discover that the wife was never told.
Yep. Mr. Boyle, on that one, I think you had the pleasure to meet both of them. I think you've met Grace Mugabe, you've met Robert Mugabe. And now we have this issue of Mnangagwa, what people are saying. I would like to ask you a question. What is your take to what people are saying? That Grace, she's the one who's now ruling the country. Grace, she's now the one who's telling Mugabe what to do. Mugabe is too old to know anything or to say something.
Yeah. Okay.
Before you answer, there's a question. Before you answer, there's a question from you from Pardon Madanzi. He's asking, Mr. Mawere, are you trying to tell us that reality is subjective?
I'm trying to say reality is relative. It doesn't have to be subjective or objective. It's relative. To me, I can imagine that Mugabe without grace, Mnangagwa will be vice president. That's what I think, that the wife and the husband are one. But the reality of relationships is not that. Somebody can see me with the first lady and create a reality around it. That actually Mawere and first lady are close. And they will spread that and say, a picture doesn't lie. What are you doing with that person in the picture? But enemies can share the same bed. Do you agree?
I agree. But Mr. Mawere, that picture here, Mugabe, your picture with Grace Mugabe. Hey, he was like, how did you end up mixing with the big people? What was it, like through networking or what? I would also wish to be there.
I'm saying is that the picture itself means a lot to different people. It's relative. One looks at the picture, sees something. I look at a glass. I say it's half full. Another one says it's half empty. But it's the same thing we are seeing, both of us. But the conclusions are the same, are different. So when you look at first lady, and then you say, okay, first, are all wives in sync with their husband? What do you think? In terms of thought and deed, are all wives in sync with their husbands?
I would say no. She is she, he is he. But they live together. They share the same.
Yeah? Hello? Hello?
Yes, Mr. Boyer?
Yeah, I'm saying, you are saying no. So, okay, I got some comments here. Tisia, welcome. Sesumbaya, welcome. Sibarase Kamara, welcome. Tisia says, I personally want a future with promise for those who care to be courageous. So those who don't care to be courageous, you don't want them in your future. Should the future be diverse, simple, and inclusive? Or should the future only accommodate courage and put in the work to serve others and be rewarded for their efforts? What about if I just want to be selfish this year? Should I be in your future? Just don't want to share what I have. Because what I have, I didn't get it from you. Should I suffer the obligation to share? Should we have a future where people are rewarded for their efforts? That's a question for you all. A future where dogs are not found in the echelons of leadership to expropriate what they call white monopoly, capital, or proceeds of corruption. Absent corruption, what is human life like? A future where the word term jealousy maybe is gone. Those who save humanity beyond their family and are not labeled as evil. What happened if I just want to be me? Should I be in Tia's future? T says, I want a future where leadership exists which understands that dogs have to bark and not pressured to make popular poor economic decisions. Pardon Madanzi says, if reality is relative to one's imagination, what therefore is reality and fact? Pardon, that's a conversation that you may think and motivate whether we need that conversation. The conversation between fact and reality. Is that conversation missing? Dr. Ushe Chatora Morning said, I would say there's virtual realism and actual reality. Again, doctor, what is virtual reality and what is actual reality? Reality, like beauty, depends in the eyes of the beholder. But right now we're sharing what we think is a reality. Okay, Lisa says, Trujillo, your accent is so strong, I cannot understand you. Okay, I don't know what, whether it's me or the speaker or both. So, slow down. Okay. Is there anyone who understands what I'm saying, or it's Lisa's problem alone? So let me invite Fafi Gwindi.
Hello.
Hello.
Mr. Moe.
Hey, how are you?
How are you? How are you, Vakuru?
Hey, I'm fine.
Yeah,
We
I
have
just
some
want to
people
say,
who
yeah,
are here who may not speak Shona. So we
yeah,
are
thank
talking
you.
to the world, not
No,
talking just
certainly.
to, yeah.
No, certainly. I want to first off beginning by thanking you, because a lot of dialogue around the Zimbabwean matter is very subjective and political based. So usually when people meet up, they dedicate a lot of energy to speak about ZANU, MDC, Grace Mugabe, Robert Mugabe, things we have no facts about. Now, what I love about what you're doing, Mr. Mawere, is that we're discussing things that we can use as individuals. This ability to discern between things such as freedom. A lot of Zimbabweans say we're in bondage and we are enslaved by Mugabe. And it, now,
Yeah.
this whole idea of freedom, and it we're called Mabon free, right? We were told once upon a time that we were oppressed, right? Now, this is a frame of mind. It's not based on what the British are doing, or what Mugabe is doing, what Grace Mugabe is doing. It's based on how we perceive them and our frame of mind. So the reality is based on what you want to see as an individual. And personally, I believe that as Zimbabweans, we are in charge of our future. Not Grace Mugabe. She has her own future and her own destiny and her own goals, ambitions, and some we'll never know about because we don't know her. We haven't got the ability to know her. Nature hasn't given us the right to know her. But we can certainly, as individuals, collude and find ways to better our tomorrow. And we can be the solution and not the guys that have spent a generation of analysts who just analyze things that they can't substantiate. Things have got no facts about. Let's be the answer. Let's get in touch with the suppliers in China and generate money online, and then build the infrastructure in Zimbabwe and build systems and businesses such as Amazon that make it easier for people to be able to order things without the need for infrastructure. In this day and age, how can we still have time to speak about the Mugabes and what they're doing in Zimbabwe while we're over here? We can't change that, you know? And in
So
my
maybe
opinion,
one of the questions that I had asked Mukoma Masimba, simple. Do you believe that husbands and wives are in sync? That you and your girlfriend, the fact that you have a relationship, it means that your realities are the same. What is your take?
No, not at all. I disagree, because you've got a wife or a girlfriend doesn't mean that your aspirations and ambitions are the same. From
Have you
reality,
ever
no.
seen the reality of husband and wife actually fighting
Of
every
course.
day? This one says, let's go left. The other one says, let's go right.
Yes, indeed. And
That
that's
in,
not just, yeah, sorry, go on.
that in relationships is not always a straight line, where you assume people come from the same room, they ought to think the same way. I may say, your friend, I don't like him. And the wife, you like the person. Have you ever encountered those situations
Yeah, these things happen.
where you are forced to drop your own friend and the wife negotiates, even just starting from not inviting the friend, even just the facial expression. When you mention somebody's name, and if someone that is liked by your girlfriend or your wife, lights light up. And if you mention someone is not in favor, then the lights switch off.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, that right to be human is now being denied on the person of Mugabe, the person of Mnangagwa, the person of Grace. That actually Grace could be Grace on her own,
Mm-hmm.
trying every day to negotiate with her husband publicly, because the husband was refusing to let go Mnangagwa.
Mm-hmm.
And this fight could have taken place for years in small bits, where Mnangagwa thought he was closer to the president than the wife thought. Do you agree?
Yes, possible.
Okay,
We can only
that's
speculate.
one scenario, but nobody's willing to explore that. Most people want to say 1 + 1 must be 2, because they know what 2 is, and it suits their thinking. And they want to convince all of us that Grace Mugabe is now the leader. Yet the reality may be different.
Yes. Can I just add to that and just say that I think when a lot of people are also saying that, they might not mean that maybe primarily that Grace Mugabe is officially the president, but I think a lot of people are noting that they didn't realize maybe before that she can influence a lot of things internally. And maybe that's something that a lot of people have become to realize that maybe they didn't see a few years ago. That she can actually, maybe like you're saying, she could have been very influential 10 years ago, but behind the scenes. But that's politics now. Everywhere in the world, politics is much more in front of your face. Look at Trump being the president of America, for example. You know, social media is massive now. So a lot of things that wouldn't have happened 10 years ago, such as wives influencing politics as much as they do now, is clearly happening. And I think some people are outraged about it.
No, I mean, if you look at the history of men and the reality of relationships, do you agree that the influence is part of life? That a son will lobby the father or mother for something. If I want to go to a movie, I know how to ask. I know how to influence. I know how to produce outcomes. Even at work, how many people who do things that are extraordinary to others? Remember the birthday of the boss. Remember to say, good morning. How are you? Remember to reach out, to volunteer, to do the things that other people are not doing. How many people actually change their profile in life, their branding in life, by the things they do, the things they say. But sometimes we don't know anything about what happens when our eyes are not there, yet we want to be experts. Generally, as human beings, we want to control, but we know we live with uncertainty. The moment you take uncertainty in our lives, what happens? Imagine you knew your journey of life. Imagine you were in Mnangagwa last week on Sunday. Would you have imagined that you'll be sleeping outside the country? Not on holiday or on business. Huh?
Yeah.
Now he has to worry about where is he going to sleep? Where is he going to live? How is he going to live? Things that he had never worried about for the last 37 years. Yeah? Pardon says, I think that the more a husband and wife stay together, they will come to a common place and begin to have the same imaginations and by extension, the same realities. What is your take on that?
I think that the more a husband and a wife stay together, they will come to a common place and begin to have the same imaginations and by extension, the same realities. Yeah, I think over time, that it's possible for that to happen, but you know, some relationships are different. You know, and this idea of someone's perception on life as a general, the reason why there's sometimes a disagreement between even a husband and a wife, because people are raised up different, they see different things, and their perceptions are different. So to maybe a wife, buying the next car is the most important thing. Maybe the husband thinks we should save money and invest in a business. And, you know, the things such as that can bring a divergence into people. Some things could do with religion, some things could do with politics. It all depends on individual circumstances. But yeah, I do agree that the
and if I said I don't agree, what would you say to me?
I'd be happy to hear your point of view.
Okay, that I don't agree because each human being is a unique creature.
I agree.
He is possessed with the inherent powers given by the Creator as part of the bundle of life. The power to reason, free will. Today I may be reasonable, tomorrow I also may be unreasonable. And that my reasoning, my reaction to certain facts cannot be predicted or cloned. That I could see, say, let me pick up my husband's phone. Let me check what's on WhatsApp. And the minute before, we were very close and loving. Then once I read what's on WhatsApp, what my husband was doing last night, automatically I can change and become an animal. That life is dynamic. The fact that we have lived together, each second of marriage is like walking on an untrodden path. We all don't know what the next second brings. We are just human. Sometimes we are ignited to be angry. Sometimes we're inspired to be something, but there is nobody who predicts. I may be moving in a supermarket. There I see my husband's girlfriend. And what started as a good episode becomes something else. And then I cannot imagine what someone close to me is imagining. I will be God. I don't have the powers to know what another mind is even thinking. I don't know what really motivates one person. I could be married to a monster. And I don't know. And I have no mechanism of knowing. So therefore, I would disagree with pardon that there can never be any legitimacy in concluding that because we've stayed together for long, then I become you, you become me. I always remain until death. How many people have been buried after 70 years of marriage, then discover that another family that was not known by the other family?
Yeah, these things happen. Yeah.
These things happen. But pardon would want us to believe that yes, because he wants Mugabe and his wife to be one. And therefore, it is the moment he accepts that Mugabe and the First Lady are two people, then that theory or reality created that there's nothing that the wife can do without the husband's knowledge falls by the wayside.
Okay.
So most people already have that reality ingrained in their minds, and they are not willing to explore any other plausible alternative because they know better, because anything that suits people becomes reality, and they spread it like wildfire. Then Raymond Muariri, Grace can be anything she wants to be and do what she wants so long as her husband there. Post RD, she has no chance. So let's gear up for her for now. Life is so amazing that we cannot predict it. And Raymond, you may know more about life than I do, but what I've learned in life is nothing more than what George Washington said. I walk on untrodden ground. That the fact that Grace is being talked about today, it's a season for her. And none of us created the facts and circumstances that have caused us to talk about her. 10 years ago, Fafi, did you know anything about the First Lady? Other than that she was the wife and mother of Mugabe's children?
No, besides that, no. I did have the pleasure of meeting the president, though, when I was 10 years old, I believe. But no, I didn't know anything about the First Lady.
But today she's trending. Who could have planned for that? That people like you and me who talk about her. She caused us to talk about her. We can talk about other things that are more important to us. Yet our time is arrested by us trying to imagine what this woman is thinking, is doing. And Devson Chatora, Mutuma, you ask what is virtual realism? Virtual realism is the creation of one's mind, which necessarily may not be actual reality. Okay. I don't know what the actual reality is, doctor. Most men are to a greater extent a product of the influence of their wives. That's what we think. Most men are a product of themselves. They are thinkers. They got the free will. When we say we hold this truth to be self-evident, that all men, including women, are created equal, and that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights. It means I can't alienate those rights. What are these rights? The right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. As you were saying, Fafi, your wife may want a helicopter and you want a golf.
Mm.
It doesn't mean you have to agree.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife may be a dreamer and you also are a dreamer, but dreaming differently.
Mm-hmm.
But life is about negotiating what is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Remember, Mr. Mawere, once a husband and a wife come together, they become one flesh. I don't know what one flesh means. Certainly, I don't know what one mind means in terms of human beings.
Mm-hmm.
You can be surprised by people you think you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because every day people are negotiating.
Mm-hmm.
Then Farai Magui says, I agree with Kola. Science shows that when you have a relationship with someone, you start to have shared realities. It's clear Grace thinks that she can be like her husband and take over. I cannot imagine what Grace's mind is. I have no way of judging it. I have no way of measuring it. I have no way of understanding it. I have no time to understand it. And what she thinks, she doesn't think, that's entirely her own prerogative and discretion. Whether she wants to rule Zimbabwe, I don't know how she's going to do it. But there's nothing I can do to stop her doing what is right for her. She believes it's her right. Yes, like me, I got the right to say what I'm saying. But it will be tragic and a sad day when someone says, what you are saying because of Grace or because of somebody else, and seek to diminish me or to substitute my humanity, my mind, with somebody else's mind. As absurd as it seems, she thinks that she's doing it, what she's doing is right and democratic. She's a citizen of Zimbabwe. Ideas are contested every day. And I don't think that if we believe in equality and sovereignty, that we should limit it for Grace and enlarge it for me. Ideas, yes, have to contest each other. But surely, let's not create another reality that suits our own thinking. Then Dr. Chatora, to think that husbands and wives share the same reality is fallacy, is a fallacy. They can have point of parity where they agree and always have their points of differences that cannot be reconciled. I agree with Dr. Chatora. Pardon me, Pardon says, Mr. Maura, I once listened to one of your presentations whereby you were talking about building brotherhoods by way of gathering like-minded people. What are like-minded people if every person is unique and doesn't share the same realities of life with another person? Please explain. What we mean is that we have interest, that life was designed outside our ingenuity and creativity by somebody. But life is not complete if I'm the only one who is alive. I don't think, Fafi, you would wear clothes if the world was only composed of you.
True.
We need each other, but we will never get to the stage where we can substitute each other. I take my mind and your mind, we put it together, it becomes one mind. Separate from the two of us, we will always remain two people. Yes? We may agree to build a road. The road will be built, but the road does not become us. We may agree to live together, and the consequence may be children. The child does not become us. The child is an independent person who has the capacity to think, to imagine, and to act on thought. That we can't clone our own children. We can't clone our wives so that they end up thinking like us. When we set up organizations, we set them up on the basis that each individual remains an individual. A country does not exist. What exists are human beings. Like Tasha once said, society does not exist, but humans do. So I hope, pardon, you've understood that self-interest is as much as important as community interest. But you can't have a community without the individual. No matter what you do. Okay. Chanda Zhao, Mugabe wants power to remain in the family. So all this was planned. That's what Chanda believes. He already knows what Mugabe thinks. So that limits me because I can't even talk to you. I don't know what Mugabe's mind is. And I should like to believe no one else knows, even himself. Because we rarely measure our minds. Fafi, have you ever been stopped one day to get into your mind, to understand it?
No.
Or you just use your mind?
I just use, that's all I can do.
And Chanda, if you know what Mugabe thinks, good luck. But I'm just human. I don't know what he is. Whatever he says, I may not even believe it. It may be something that he has heard from somebody else. It may not be a reality. It may be shaped and defined by other people. So when we deal with human beings, let's always be careful to appreciate that human beings are deceptive by nature. They will tell you one thing, they will smile at you, but actually they are not smiling.
I think
also, I'm glad huh?
No, sorry, I'll let you continue. Then I can speak
But
after.
on the other hand, I'm glad she's getting rid of these corrupt people and destroying ZANU-PF within. You may be glad, but what motivates her may be completely different from what you and I think. She has spoken her mind, but what she speaks and what she thinks may be two different things. And I have no mechanism of distinguishing one from the other. Zeoma Chenjerai, welcome. Chaipapa is the hobby, is overstayed, and to groom a wife to take over, it doesn't look good. That's the problem. If I go to Mugabe's reality, do you think the reality is that he's grooming his wife? To him, let's say we were to penetrate Mugabe's mind for one day. What do you think you find in Mugabe's mind, Fafi?
My opinion? Are you asking?
Yeah, it's your opinion, because like Chanda is trying to gossip, but he is presenting it as fact. Instead of just saying, it's my personal opinion that Mugabe is overstayed, he may believe that he is not overstayed. He actually believes he's the most popular guy in town. And nothing is what? Is different. Shiripache Namdara is. How many of his comrades who were kicked out, Washida power, he may have a reality that is different from you. So Chanda, if you know Mugabe, Go to university and get a PhD and say, this is the anatomy, this is the architecture, this is the whatever of Mugabe. David Kanyoka says Chanda is right. I don't know who is right or wrong, but I don't know Mugabe. And I should like to believe no one else does.
Guys, what Mr. Moere is saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Moere, is that we can sit down and speculate 24/7 about what's happening politically, but we can't change that. And if anyone wants to change that, there's a way to do that. And you get PhDs, or you go on campaign, go be a politician. I wish you well. What we're saying is, as sovereign individuals, we have the ability to bring forth the tomorrow we envision. We can literally think it first and work towards it, write it down, and have a strategic way of bringing it forth. And with or without Mugabe, we don't have to. That doesn't define what we're saying, and that's what we're saying. We can sit down and argue about Mugabe and what's happening politically and whether they're selfish. But what does that do for us? What does that do for our tomorrow? And that's what we're saying. We've done 40 years of this, of debating. We've done it.
What I'm also saying is that the reality that is manifest in Mugabe is his reality. There's nothing I can do to get into his mind and change his worldview. All we can do is negotiate with facts. If we have facts, let's expose those facts as we know them. But for me to sit here and try to imagine what could have motivated Mugabe to say this or that, at the end of the day, I can take a donkey to the river, but I cannot force it to drink water. The donkey has to participate in the act of drinking. It has to be an agent of that choice of getting to the water. If there is water, Mugabe is Mugabe. It's him. It's not his wife. And therefore, I cannot sit here and try to imagine a reality that is inclusive of Mugabe and his wife. What if the wife is also negotiating? And over the last years, she has not gotten her way. That's why other people she may not like are still in Mugabe's circle. Otherwise, she would have won. Why now? Why not yesterday? When she didn't think, she thought otherwise about Vice President Mujuru, she acted on it. And the result was someone was thrown off the bus. So Selma says, what is the point of this conversation? What are we getting to? We are not getting anywhere. We're just exchanging ideas, Selma. Take it easy. There is no one with an obligation to take you somewhere with their thoughts. All we can do is share our thoughts with no expectation that it will lift you or it will depress you. Where you feel you are depressed, you just switch off. That's why it's social media. You have no obligation to do that which is not in your self-interest. So, Zelma, don't ask what is the point, because my point need not be your point. I don't have to talk to you for me to open my mouth. I am just expressing what is resident or what comes to my mind. So express yours without asking what other people have in their mind. Let's have, Zelma, if you join a bus halfway, just enjoy the remainder of the ride. Because you pick up something. You see the flora and fauna, you see dogs barking, you see cockroaches in front, you see potholes in front. Celebrate the journey. Don't worry about the journey that you have not traveled. Fortunate, Masengi, you are too philosophical, Maweri. Yes, Without philosophy, where are we? We have to have ideas before we implement. Imagine Fafi building a mansion, a city, and you can't even imagine what the city looks like.
Yeah.
Imagine I never dreamt of a plane. Then I dream of flying.
I mean, can I
Imagine I
ask,
got, yeah?
what's the definition of philosophy?
They think that anything they don't understand is philosophy. That you must reduce it to a street language.
Yeah,
And therefore, once you reduce something to street language, then you become a human being.
yeah, I'm
What
going
if
to
people have
Google.
never understood Mugabe for 37 years? And they think they know him. But they don't call him a philosopher. They call him a dictator, a tyrant. And to him, he's not a tyrant. So Chanda says, Karos Mikos says, his mind, Farai Maku says, his mind is that of a 94-year-old. Have you ever seen a mind that is aged? Have you ever seen that? Where you say wine is what? It's 24 years. Is it? Have you ever experienced a mind that is aged, Tafi?
I've only got a mind of my own, you know.
Have you ever seen the mind changing from 1-year-old to 2-year-old mind? Then we can put a box and say this is a 94-year-old mind.
No.
A mind is a mind. Until you die, you have the same faculties to reason, even to be unreasonable, to be illogical, to have no common sense. So, Mark, if you believe that a mind of a 94-year-old is this or that, please tell us what revelation you got to arrive at that conclusion. Disintegrating. Have you ever seen a mind that disintegrates? What I know is either you are dead or alive. But disintegrating mind, I don't know. Perhaps, Farah, you may educate us. We are all human and we die. So if we are all human and we die, until I die, I can make a decision that may not be in your favor. If Mnangagwa thought Mugabe was about to die, who is out of office, Fafi?
Say that again, sorry.
If Mnangagwa thought Mugabe is too old, he was about to die. What has this last week shown us? That Mugabe is dead or alive?
Alive.
Who is out of a job, Mugabe or Mnangagwa?
Mr. Mnangagwa.
So who is in charge? Who is the driver?
Yeah, the president.
Mugabe is still there. But now someone says his mind is disintegrated. Now his mind has been taken over by grace. That's the analogy. That grace is now the new Mugabe.
Yeah, you know what? Sorry, Mr. Meyer. You know what I find interesting about this divergence in approach is that a lot of people think that when you want to discuss Zimbabwe, you have to mention politics. You know, people don't want to appreciate that actually. If you look at Great Britain, for example, and the West, for example, it's the corporations and the entrepreneurs that have added value. They make what Great Britain is. For example, even here in the UK where I am, a lot of people do things. You know, they run shops, they run market stalls, they run a lot of businesses, and that's why That's how prosperity and opportunity comes about. You know, so even where there's a much more robust political setup, such as the UK, people that are working hard to be self-driven and self-sufficient are the ones that are benefiting. Even here, let alone in somewhere like Zimbabwe, where we shouldn't be relying on politicians and putting more emphasis on colluding and adding value there and not waiting for politicians. Where do politicians, they're not there for that, in all honesty.
Have you ever seen Theresa May? Have you ever seen Theresa May?
I've never seen her.
Do you need to see it?
What for?
But how many people think Mugabe is the alpha and omega of life?
Hmm.
Huh?
Indeed. And guys, you know, I just seen a comment, there's such a thing as a 93-year-old. Indeed. Guys, we're not naive to the things that you're saying. We understand that these things are going on. But because we don't sit down and talk about it, doesn't mean we agree with it or disagree with it. What we're saying is, in bringing forth the future we want to see, we can't be concentrating on that because we can't change that. But we can change what we do with our time, with our relationships. And it's happening right in front of us. There's a lot of opportunities, no matter where you are, to collude and add value. But we're not looking for that. We're looking for debates and personal arguments and political things. And I don't understand it.
In fact, they say you can conspire to inspire.
Mm-hmm.
But Carlos Miko say Mugabe is power hungry. I don't know what power hungry is. Have you ever seen hunger? Then power. I become power hungry. What is power? We never unpack some of these terms that we use, often without a lot of thought. Selfish. Who is not selfish? Coward, period, Mawere. Who is not coward? I mean, the guy has fired the vice president who is presumed to be a crocodile, is it? Then someone called him a coward. Why are you so scared? Who is scared? We are talking. I don't have any brief for Mugabe. Even if Mugabe was alive or dead, it doesn't change my life. I still have to eat when I eat. When I'm hungry, I have to do what I have to do. I haven't come this far because of Mugabe's grace. Oh, I think they'll say grace is a bad term in Zimbabwe. They'll think when every time you use grace, you mean the first lady. But there is a term called grace. Mugabe is not an ATM machine of grace. Mugabe is human like you and me. There's nothing that he can do to assist me to be somebody. Otherwise, we will go to that fountain. If it was Mecca, we'll all be queuing there to get baptism. He's not a prophet. He has not even said he's a saint. He's not an angel. He's just a human being of flesh. Chanda, he's a dictator as simple as that. And you know it. You are now imposing your knowledge on me, Chanda. Please, I have not earned the right to be an extension of you. If you believe that Mugabe is a dictator, hold your views to yourself. That belief must remain with you. Please don't export it to me. I have not merited it. I don't need your grace. I don't need this. So if, Chanda, you believe something, keep it to yourself. Express it as your own idea, genuine, organic idea. Don't try now to democratize it without my consent and knowledge. I don't know what makes Mugabe who he is. I don't know what a dictator is. But what I do know is I'm compelled to be a dictator of my own life. There I have to make a decision. As to what happens to Mugabe, I have nothing else except one vote. as one man. Apart from that, I can't cause other people to vote like me or to think like me. All I can do is share my ideas so that those who are ignited to change their thinking will do so at their own time, their own leisure. They have no obligation to ask me or for me to tell them what time it is. If it is Mugabe's time, you have to decide. If we are held at ransom, our lives are destroyed. I don't know. Mugabe has never held me at ransom. I don't know what he would. The moment he holds me at ransom, then he loses freedom himself. Because you can't be an oppressor and at the same time you lose nothing. Any action you do has an impact on you. If I don't trust people, then it means I have to work myself. I have to do everything myself. I have to be a subsistence farmer. If I don't want trading, if I don't believe in people making profit, then I will have a new reality where I sell to myself. Then I say I'm rich because I've invoiced myself. Okay, the country needs change. The country needs no change, Chanda. The country has no life. You got life. Change yourself. Don't speak on behalf of a country. Life was never meant to allow me to speak on behalf of a human construct. Let's avoid crystallizing language that doesn't get us any far in terms of what we want to advance. Okay.
I think, Mr. Moira, can I just add to that? That when we speak of Zimbabwe or we speak of the country, do we realize that we speak of us, the individuals, because we are Zimbabwe. So even if the political platform changes, right, to whatever you want it to change to, whether MDC, whether a new ZANU-PF leader, but you're still of the mind frame that your destiny relies on politicians, you will probably still not see the tomorrow you want to see. What needs to change first is us. And then what we'll see things manifest as we have envisioned them, guys. That's what we're saying. We're not saying you're wrong for mentioning politics. We're saying if you want to go down the political route, you're on the wrong platform. You know, collude, create cells wherever you are and go down the right way about it. Go and get votes, work hard, invest in your campaigns. It's going to cost a lot of money, a lot of time, energy. We're not going to talk down on you on doing that. Same way, we shouldn't talk down on people that are adopting a non-political approach. Now, we're not saying that politics doesn't affect what happens in Zimbabwe in terms of the business platform. But what we're saying is in terms of being the solution, we can't just sit down and analyze things. Let's better our lives first. And then we can go in and tackle these things. People in the diaspora, Mr. Moira, where there's greater access to capital as such, work 9-to-5s every day, and then at night they want to be political analysts. So how can we solve a country while we're still indebted to what's going on over here? Let's make a decision. If you're going down the political route, do it properly. Go down the political route. Set up a party, invest in your campaigns. If you're going to go down a non-political route, where as individuals, sovereign people, we are Zimbabwe. We're greater than any party. We're greater than any politician because we were there before that. So what we're saying is we can be the solution on our own. We don't need politicians for that. And then we can now collude with people in Zimbabwe and help them and tell them that they don't need politicians. But how can we, if we're working on 9-to-5s, 10 hours a day, 15 hours a day, solve a nation? Now, if we want to go down the political route, go and do it. Go and do it. I think we just need to understand that there's different ways to approach this. We don't all have to approach it the same way. If you want to go down the political way, there's a way of doing so. You're on the wrong platform. On this kind of platform, we want to speak about us and our relationships. When we have that extra £5,000, do we go and buy the next car, the next mortgage, or do we go and collude and build up a corporation that is going to help our brothers and sisters and create jobs in Zimbabwe, if we really care about the Zimbabwean problem? And I just think we've struggled in making that discretion between our approach.
TCR says, yes, brother, prosperity is the result of entrepreneurship. And he agrees with you. And funny enough, in Zimbabwe, the fascination is about politics. Entrepreneurs are sacrificed. They are viewed as evil, greedy, and corrupt. Others develop entrepreneurs. For example, Richard Branson is a say he was knighted of for business excellence. Okay. And then Harris says, Maduku, we need politicians to craft business-friendly and pro-poor policies. Again, Harris has got a different paradigm. I think what you are saying is, Harris, shift your paradigm. You don't need a politician. A politician is you. We have, in life, we have different stages. Some play their act, their craft as doctors, as architects, as whatever, but it doesn't make them architects. It doesn't make them doctors. What is there is a human being. Some would want to play a Zimbabwean. It doesn't make you a Zimbabwean. You are you. Whether you go to England, you still remain you. If you are a fool in Zimbabwe, you are a fool in Zimbabwe. If you go to England, you'll still be a fool. Traveling even 1 kilometer will not change who you want to be. You have to be the agent of change. You have to cause it. And if we are going to spend our time talking about what Mugabe does or doesn't do, then that time is not catered for. We are just wasting productive time to talk about things that we can't change. Let's talk about things we can change. There's a lot. I think Fafi has come up with one idea, that if I could give up 5,000 to buy the next car and be a holder of shares in a corporation that we all agree to, then we are going somewhere. That yesterday there were young people, not old people, who set up Old Mutual. They didn't want to do old things. They just wanted to solve their problems. If you wanted today to set up a new mutual, you don't need Mugabe for that. You don't need anyone for that. You have to cause it to happen. If you wanted a new bank, you don't have to ask something of another bank. You can do it because you are a bank already. The money in your account is a bank. The bank is just a store of other people's value. If there's nothing of value, you don't need a bank. A country is nothing more than the people. It is the people who think, it is the people who act, not the country, not the government, not people in government. Don't give them brains they don't have. Don't give them the wisdom they can never have. Just treat them as normal human beings. Then you are on the path to somewhere. The moment you believe that Mugabe is the problem, then you are also the problem. Farai Maku, we need to mention politics because of the political situation. I don't know what else to say to you, Farai. Just be happy, live up to your name. Don't complicate your name by imagining politics to be real. The government does not give liberty for our economic prosperity. Yes, now you are saying, now you are talking. The government is a barrier to our economic success. Where is the roadblock? Where government, not human beings. I know what human beings can do, but I don't know what government can do on its own. Don't breathe life into government as a construct of man. They meddle with our economic growth let's not talk about they. Let's talk about he. Let's talk about Mugabe's failings as a human being. Not to talk about Mugabe's genius of evil. They made it with our inappropriate regulation and corruption. The regulations are our regulations. They affect us. We are the people who create government. We are the people who want favors from the same people we've created. Tell me, where did Fafi? You have do you know Mnangagwa?
What,
Or
personally?
of him? Okay.
I don't know much of him. But...
Yeah, he has been in government for the last 37 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
So he has never known of any other employer except the people of Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm.
The Zimbabwe that he has been part of is a Zimbabwe where people can't even get access to their own cash.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't leave the country because they don't know what they're going to do. They have money in the bank. They want to go and get medical care in South Africa. They can't do it. Yet Mnangagwa, their servant, is now reported to be outside the country. With whose cash? Wouldn't you ask? If you are the employer and you know you've been mean, you don't pay these ministers a lot of money because there is no money. Then wouldn't you want to know the relationship between Mnangagwa and cash?
Mm. I mean, if that's the question, Mr. Moer, this is our point. This is precisely what we're saying. That no one's denying that there is, you know, everyone's got a right to have a political approach, guys. However, have a strategic plan, right? Have a way of how you're going to achieve these things that could involve having a new party in power, whatever it may be. This is what we're saying. What we are saying is that for us, we've realized that politicians don't decide our tomorrow. So this is our approach. We need to understand that we're not talking down on you guys that want to go and campaign and do various different campaigns here and there that are political based. But for me, when I look at a party, what makes a party? The people, once again. The very same thing that makes a country. You know,
I think
you
you have said
so
well.
Yeah, I mean, and also, Mr. Moira, for the people that want to take on the political approach, what I believe is good to, as a people, we collude, we go and set up enterprises in Zimbabwe. Then we show and help the politicians because they might not even have the answers on what to do. Even here in the UK, where everyone thinks the political system is amazing, people are very much sometimes complaining about resources, basic resources. Sometimes the roads, the government sometimes struggles to keep up. Housing, there's a housing shortage here in the United Kingdom, where the government is struggling to keep up, given the amount of people that have come in from abroad. So even here, the government is struggling, and look how much debt the government is in here. What we're told. You see, so even the government here is struggling, guys. The answer here or in Zimbabwe, regardless of where you are, is us as individuals and what we do.
And somebody says, Tendai Joushe says, who is the guy speaking? That's you. I like your mind, young man.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Tafara Zanamwe says, Fafi, do you have examples of this personal individual approach which solved the nation apart from the politics?
Yes. Yes. What I can actually tell you is that no politics solved the nation. That's one example, actually, that no politics solved the nation. that when we speak about the economies such as the Great Britain's and the United States, for example, what makes these places appealing to investors is what's been brought forth by the entrepreneurs, the Richard Bransons. We hear about them, the Bill Gates, the Apple. I mean, guys, it's right in front of us. It's not a politician.
So he's a salesman. Watch out. I think somebody's saying you are a salesman.
I've not sold a thing. I've not sold a thing.
I think
I've not sold a thing to you. I do buy and sell online. But you know, the model I use is I don't even have to contact people. But guys, there's so much opportunities around us, but because we're not looking for them, yes, that is why the government is held accountable. Politics can put barriers to those that will try to help the nation. Indeed, politics can put the government saying to you, oh, you can't take out more than $100 for example, a week, is going to put a big barrier. Now the question is, what do you do about it? Do you have a solution?
And Lisa says, hey, you are a salesman to the core. I don't know who's selling what, Lisa. Maybe you can tell us. Dude, just stop. Just stop. I don't know what you are selling or what anyone is selling. We're not selling anything. This is not a cash and carry. No cash is required.
It's selling illegal.
Selling anything. Huh? I don't think we need to imagine selling. Yeah, Lisa, you say it's good, just leave it there. And there's nothing he's selling apart from what comes out of his mind. His mind is not purchased, he's just talking what he knows. It doesn't require any effort to say what you know and what you think. And Tafara, you say, examples, yes. There is no nation state that exists without the individual. There is no group that exists without the individual. There is no family that exists without the individual. There is no clan that exists without the individual. Absent the individual, there is nothing. There is no address of a group mind. It doesn't exist. The mind exists in the mind of the individual. That's where it's deposited. Actions, the power of causation, and the power of agency to convert ideas into reality is vested in the individual. If the individual is missing, there is nothing that will change. You need a force to move. Those are laws of physics, not laws of Mugabe. Those are laws that have seen generations after generations come and get a better life. If you want to be poor, wait for this animal called government. If you want to be poor, spend your time talking about what Mugabe is thinking or you imagine him to be thinking. Take facts as they are. You must be able to question. President Mugabe, we want to have a conversation with you. We know you are a revolutionary, as you claim. We know you are a liberator, as you allege. We know you mean well for all the poor people. How come your ministers, how come the people around you have now a better relationship with cash than all of us who don't know you? Mr. President, can you answer this simple question? What happened during the journey of independence that has seen other people, human like us, get elected? After election, they say goodbye, they throw away the ladder and say no one must climb except me. Now I'm an experienced governor to lead you just because I've stayed in government. I don't know what you're doing except what I see of you. Then, President, talk to us. We are young people. We don't know anything about the liberation struggle. We don't know anything about what our parents went through so that we can go to school. We are now, our time is now. So, Your Excellency, talk to us. We are not fighting you. We are not fighting your right. We are not saying that you are not a president. We have assumed and accepted that you are the president. But talk to us. When your minister runs away from you after 37 years of promising independence, and he says he fought to liberate us, now he finds himself on the opposite side of the border. What has happened to allow this minister, former vice president, says, I cannot be a minister in another person's cabinet. I've spent 34 years as a minister and vice president. Therefore, I don't have the time. Another says, I have fought Mugabe. The space for fighting Mugabe is my space. So young men, dream, but don't dream of becoming a president. Then I go all the way to New Zealand. I go all the way to Austria. And I find young people calling themselves prime minister, chancellor. How does it happen that in Zimbabwe, I can't even say President Mugabe can't even address you and recognize a former president because there is no one. Do you think President Mugabe knows what is happening under him? And Pardon says he's arguing. Guys, I have one good example for how the government is very relevant to what we do. Mr. Mawere applied his mind and developed value by growing Shabani mines. No, I never applied my mind. Who told you that, Pardon? I was just lucky to be relevant at the time where relevance was required. Anyone could have done what I did. Life is just a random walk. You are walking on an untrodden path, Pardon. I didn't even know that I was going to stumble on an opportunity. Had I known, I would have behaved differently. Life doesn't give me that clairvoyance. I don't know what I don't know. I'm not a prophet, I'm not a magician. Until politicians came to disturb him, no politician can disturb anyone. What disturbs me is that, Pardon, you have refused to play your part as a citizen. If you play your part, you will discover that the powers used against me were your powers. If somebody in the street says, I don't like you, Mawere, I have no problem. You are entitled to dislike me. You are entitled even not to listen to me. You have every right to be angry with yourself. But don't export your anger to me. Don't use government to do the things that government is not meant for. Some says, Mawere, I think you are wrong. Government can actually disturb your life. Government is used. If you are Sim Joy, government is you. I could be wrong, but tell me, what is government to you? That Mugabe goes to a government toilet, is that correct? When he's pressed, when he wants to eat, and he wants sweet potatoes, then you eat government sweet potatoes. Huh?
I think the interesting thing is that now when we speak about Zimbabwe, as I said, we have to think about us as individuals, right? There's some individuals outside of Zimbabwe and individuals inside of Zimbabwe. And I believe there's a need for a merge between the two, for us to understand each other more. Because what's happening is we're having people in the UK, for example, who want to adopt a political approach while they're in the diaspora, right? How could one have a solution for anything when they've never seen it, right? People in the diaspora, because we can't even vote and we can't even influence the political situation, right? What we need to be doing is what we can while we're over here, and work hand in hand with the people in Zimbabwe. Now, the reason why this is difficult, okay, the reason why this is difficult is because people in the diaspora are doing what they want to do with their individual lives. They're getting mortgages, they're going abroad, and when they come to Zimbabwe, they come and spend a lot of money in probably foreign-owned places and resorts, and then they come back again and the cycle repeats. While people in Zimbabwe are there witnessing what's actually happening, the $100 limit per week. Saving if I had a good business, this is where I'm struggled. And guys, for me, personally, as an individual, once again, you educate yourself on how you can be active online and still do well online and leverage your relationships. If you've got family in South Africa where you can go and take some money out. Have you got anywhere near? And this is where we've got to be coming together to find the answers around these problems. Is there a weekly limit in South Africa as well? Do people need to be, there's a lot of opportunity wherever there's these things going on. The question is, do you become an analyst of the problem, or do you go and work and actively seek to find a solution?
I think you say, Sim Joy says, Mr. Mawere, government is a group of people with the authority to govern a country or state. Maybe that's what we are trying to struggle with. I know Fafi is talking about enterprise, but enterprise has to occur within a political idea, a political philosophy that speaks to the human spirit. Otherwise, you can be enterprising in a wrong environment. So the two need to speak to each other. We can't assume that government is irrelevant, because government is not, it didn't start with Zimbabwe. The idea of a government itself is founded on ideas that inspire, ideas that ignite human action. No one could create government if government was not there to do the things, or for people to do things that they cannot do as individuals. Nobody can argue that. Most of the governments are ideas. Somebody said to me that America is an idea. It's not a country. Because the people who were native to America are not making the headlines in America. But people from distant shores arrived in America with no promise that they will be #1 country in the world. They came with different dreams, no return tickets. They arrived in this geography and said, we are going. Others said, we have to rebel because the system we have is a wrong system. It doesn't speak to us. We can't pay tax without representation. They came. If you go to George Mason in 1776 in May and read the Declaration of Rights, it will tell you that here were young people who were thinkers. Go to Jefferson and look at the Declaration of Independence. What did they say about government? It will shock you that those ideas are not old. Those ideas are as young as we all are. They said governments are instituted among men to secure the rights of nature, the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That those rights are given independent of government. But to secure those rights, you need a government. Somebody said in Dr. Adrian Rogers, I'll give this question to you, Fafi. He said the opposite of poverty is not wealth. If you were asked to unpack that, what would you say? The opposite of poverty is not wealth.
In what context are we? In general?
In general.
The opposite of poverty is not wealth. Yeah, because I think it depends. You know, I was speaking, you know, absolute poverty in regards
No,
to
if you don't understand it, it's okay. Just say I don't understand it. So if somebody says the opposite of poverty is not wealth, and you don't understand it, you can say I don't understand it.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I don't. Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah?
I don't understand.
And would you want to understand?
Yes, please. Why not?
Does anyone want to understand? Let me ask others so that we can get a conversation. Otherwise, we become professors. If someone says the opposite of poverty is not wealth, what is your take? And Lisa says, so your thoughts are so incorrect. Nyasha Chitaka says yes. And if you were in another conversation, we'll leave you there. If you say yes, why? If you say no, why? So please, that's your question. Around the world, there's so much distraction. Lisa, what is it that you want us to do on social media to stop distraction? Or to talk about distraction? To invest in distraction? To perfect distraction? Yes, there's so much yet. What is it that we can possibly do to stop distraction? To stop hatred? Okay, Moses Mu says the opposite of wealth is not poverty. People will get your point. What is your point? Not my point. Moses, when someone says the opposite of wealth, the opposite of poverty is not wealth. What is your take on that description? What is your take? Moses, don't simplify for people, explain so that we know what is in your mind. Don't think for other people. They may think you are complicating it and you are simplifying it. Okay. Simjoy, tell us, opposite of poverty can be wealth. Depends with the context. You are not answering the question. I would define poverty as a state of lacking. Fafi, have you ever been to an address where there's a state of lacking as a state?
No.
And you find poor people gathered there waiting to be what? To be fed.
I've never been.
Therefore, in my view, the opposite of poverty is not wealth, but a state of possessing. To possess, one is to create something of value. Okay. Let's go. I mean, why would I create something of value? Why do I need value? We don't need to be extremes in order to be prosperous. That's Moses. What is poverty, Dr. Chatora? Is it a state of lacking? Do you agree, Fafi, that you can see me poor today and tomorrow I win a lotto?
Mm-hmm.
What am I? Am I poor? Or poverty is relative?
Not in monetary terms.
Yeah. So what is poverty? Is it a disease? Is it a status?
I think you can identify poverty in many ways, as a frame of mind, as a lack of access to resources that you need to survive, such as food, water.
But poverty itself must exist. It can't be lack of something. Have you ever thought of understanding what poverty is? There are many professors who mislead people and say, I can eradicate poverty. Government can eradicate, reduce the frontiers of poverty without understanding what poverty is. First, I must know the thing, then I must do something about the thing. But if I don't know what the thing is, how can I eradicate it? What if poverty doesn't exist? What exists are human beings who may decide to sleep while others are going to work. Who may vote today, then think that the people in government are doing something for them. What if poverty means sitting back and thinking Mugabe knows what I know? And you act as I want him to act. Yeah. So what is poverty? And you agree that we have not invested much in understanding these concepts, but we use them.
Yeah.
We use wealth as if we know. And yet we don't know. How many of us don't know what we claim to know? Yet volunteer. Nonsense. Innuendo, speculation, superstition, and call it fact. Pardon says the one who gets satisfied with little is the richest. If I give $100 to one and 1,000 to another, and it happens that the one I give 100 is more satisfied with it than the one I gave 1,000, poverty could be a state of mind. So, or even Pardon doesn't know, he says could be. So we are coming to the end of the show. So I think it's a good time to stop it here and then ask you to think before I volunteer my own opinion. Lisa says, hey, Fafi, how are you doing? Lisa is more interested in Fafi. Perhaps you can inbox Fafi. Tony Mock says, poverty is a lack of resources to live a normal life. A lack of resources. Do you know that, Fafi, that all the resources that we need to live life are provided outside the ingenuity of men?
Nature.
Yeah? It's there. They are created common to all of us. So how can lack of resources be called poverty when the resources are not created by men? Yeah? I still say poverty is a state of lacking. Dr. Chatora, lacking what everything we want in life is already there. Whether it can be ideas. If I don't have ideas, I don't have ideas. It doesn't make me poor. But I have an idea just to be alive. If you see me walking on the street, Fafi, wouldn't you just salute me?
I'll say hi. Yeah, indeed.
No, I'll salute you and say, where you come from? You have never asked for a penny from me. Who am I to say you are poor? But the moment you stop me and say, hang on, can you spare some change? Then you're assuming I also got change somewhere. So let's go to the address of change. Who is there? And who should be there? So when I see a human being alive, I have no other way than to say, I salute you. I don't know where you come from, what pain you have. It may not show in your face. But I know life is not hard. I start from, life is not easy. I start from there. If you have navigated yourself up the ladder, I say, you are what is promised of you. Yeah. But who am I? Pardon said poverty is a lack of contentment with what we have at a given time. If I lack contentment, can you measure lack of contentment and call it poverty? And I point a finger and say Fab is poor. That's the face of poverty. Do you think that would be okay?
I mean, a billionaire could not be content with what they have.
That's right.
That's not necessarily poverty. It's not necessarily greed. It's not necessarily greed. You know.
I can't give health to Steve Jobs. I couldn't do it. He's dead. Like we all going to die. Man will not buy one extra second. Otherwise, the rich will be at the ATM machine depositing money for them to get extra life. So, do you see how complex these subjects are?
Indeed.
And yet some people want to be president because they want to make you less poor. And they're selling you a dummy. And you buy it. And you vote. Then you say, why am I poor now? Then Tony Moff says, but Mukoma Mawere, the systems in place in general and Zimbabwe in particular create a situation for poverty to rule the roost. I'm based in Australia at present, but the system tries very hard to assist those at the lowest levels of economic prosperity. I don't know, Tony. You are now introducing systems. Can you have systems without human beings? Can you have systems? Surely, Tony. Can you have somebody has created a situation? Do you know to create a situation to make people poor? Do you know what it costs? Tony, just think about it. I am born today. I spend my time wishing ill will to you, investing in your poverty. What kind of life would I need to lead to do that, to achieve that feat? I wake up in the morning, I do what? Stop you from waking up, stop you from doing the things that you love to do. What would I need to do? Then I'm now hearing a new introduction to our vocabulary that the system can make me poor. Who would create a system? Imagine I'm government. Wouldn't I need income from people? For government to be viable, it needs to tax people.
Yeah,
but if I don't allow them to earn money, then I have nothing. So I'm shooting myself in the foot. Who would be in government who doesn't understand that government itself can only give that which it would have taken from somebody? That if there is no somebody, there's nothing.
Yeah, but even in reality, Mr. Moore, what we're seeing other governments do is they outsource a lot of they outsource the provision of a lot of things to the private sector, entrepreneurs, individuals, just like you and me.
That's right.
So this,
But I'm saying
yes,
outsourcing is its supply chain. What I'm saying, the purpose of government itself is the only party that can call your income to itself.
mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
why would, yeah?
Tony, Tony, can I just check, Mukoma, that you're referring to the financial system, right? Because you know the volatility of the currency as a whole, globally, not just in Zimbabwe, currency as a whole, we didn't design that system. No politician can make a decision to one day control currency supply. Not Donald Trump, not Theresa May, not Robert Mugabe. This is something we need to also understand, guys, because this isn't us trading in gold or potatoes or anything that we can. This isn't our arena. We need to understand these things before we point the finger and say we can only take out $100 per week. Yeah, it's not great. We're not saying that. But can one person do that? Can one minister do that? Let's really answer these
But
questions.
now we're being, yeah, I think we're getting people to think. That's all we're trying to do, to ignite people to think. And if you are ignited like Tony in Australia, then we've done our purpose. That's the future I want. That I want a future in which in the present, we begin to contest ideas, to interrogate ideas, not to take anything for granted, including things we've accepted. Then Tony says, maybe the systems were created unconsciously. Anything that is controlled unconsciously cannot be created by men, because man has the power to reason. Man has the power of free will. So there is nothing that is humanly created that is not thought about. Human beings solve problems. I think, Tony, you agree. There is no problem that can solve itself. So anything that we do in life is about service, about solving problems. So I hope, Tony, you understand that there can never be a system that has a life of its own. What would be its purpose? Why create a government if I don't need to use it? To promote my rights. Because we are aspirational people. We are human beings. We want to climb the ladder. We want to be better than what our parents were. We want to be somebody, not nobody. How can I be somebody with a government that takes away from me that which I've gained on my own? So, Tony, think, apply your mind. You are in Australia. Yesterday, the people who visited Australia were called criminals. They left with Europe with nothing. But today, Australia is a country you now call home. What happened? What makes it Australia, Australia? Sim Joy size. Yeah, you see, Mr. Man, I think there's a point you are missing. Let's travel to America and talk about their system. Their system is not, it doesn't exist as a car, as an object, as a house. People create their own networks. Call it a country.
Mr. Moore, can I add to that?
Yeah.
And just reply to SM Joy Size. Hi. There's people in America, black people in America, that turn over 10,000, 15,000 pounds a month, $1,000 a month. Black people in America that do that online, right? And I'm talking reality. You know, these are people I liaise with, and these aren't even the biggest figures. Saka, I know what you're getting at, but let's look at the reality of what we're saying. That one individual is a human being, just like a white person. We'd rather spend time analyzing these so-called systems that aren't even tangible. We can't even touch them. We can only see, we can't influence them in any way. This is what we're trying to say. Let's think for our own. Even in America, like you referred to, I'm saying there's people, black people in America doing very well. They've never been to jail. So I do understand that. But even then, I just wanted to share that.
No, I think SM Joy is saying all these things are political. I don't know what is political, but what I know is human beings have the elasticity to be somebody. They have the capacity to rise up to the occasion. And that is not limited.
And
pardon
sorry, Mr.
says,
Meyer.
Yeah.
I think we've become a generations of people, of analysts, people that love to analyze problems. I remember speaking to an uncle of mine. He's an accountant now, a very successful one in the UK. And he used to talk about how he used to walk to school without no shoes on, half an hour every day. Every day. He could have sat down and said, the school is half an hour away. The president needs to build a school. He wouldn't have got to where he's got to today. He walked. He was active. You know.
And he was an agent of his, yeah. He became an agent of his own dreams. Yeah. So I think we can retouch later if you are available. And then we can talk about other issues. I know we have ignited you. If you are not ignited, then you are dead. But if you are alive, just celebrate ideas. Because without ideas, what do we have? Without imagination, without creativity, without innovation, what do we have?
You're right.
And I think we have the power. We possess it, not because we have asked for it. We have the power to think. We have the power to act. And when we combine thought and action, nothing is impossible. Whether Mugabe is there or not there, Grace is there, whether she's amazing, whether she's a devil, it doesn't matter. You are the champion of your own journey. I will tell you when we come back, I want you to think, share the question. And I hope, Faf, you share the question so that when we come back, whether the opposite of poverty is wealth, that's the question. Let's have a conversation on it. Because when we do, we will then know what kind of future we want. We want a future without poor people as we define them. We want a future where there are only wealthy people. Do we want a future only with poor people? Only with powerless people? Only with powerful people? What kind of future do you want? So this question is pregnant. Also, you must then define what is poverty and what is wealth before you answer it. So don't just jump to answer. Think, what is wealth? What is it? What is it not? How it flows, if it does flow, how it is related to one and not the other individual. What is the reality of wealth? What is the reality of poverty? And then how do we bridge the two? How does one person who is called poor become wealthy? What is required? What kind of future do I want to bridge these two ideas? Do they exist? If they do, let's understand them so that we become enemies of poverty or friends of wealth. if that is the desired future. But you have a say because it's your future. You have to decide because it's your decision that counts. No government will make a decision on your behalf. You have the power. You have the inherent power. So on that score, I'll say goodbye for now. We'll come back when time permits.
Thank you.